Happy Monday, everyone. I'd like to start off by saying thank you for watching if you are watching because I have very few people watching right now, but I appreciate every single one of you that is liking and subscribing and just viewing. I love you all. And what I'd like to talk about today is Trump's ban on refugees from certain countries, 7 countries in particular. But if they're Muslim refugees, they're banned from these 7 countries. Um, we have to decide what kind of country the United States is. Do we follow what is on the Statue of Liberty? Give us your poor, your hungry, your tired masses. Something along those lines. Maybe not word for word, but you get the idea. You can look it up pretty easily. But also, just the general idea of the United States. We're that city on a hill. We're that shining beacon that everybody wants to go towards. Everybody wants to achieve citizenship here. People from around the world, whether you're in a third world or first world country, they all want to come to the United States. Maybe not to become citizens, but everybody wants to at least see it, to be in it for a little while, experience it. Because we're like the Rome of the modern time. But recently, specifically in the past week of Trump's presidency, which is, the numbers are not good for his approval rating. They're 30s and below, which is very, very sad. It's around the numbers that Bush received after Katrina, just after Katrina. And that is not a good way to start, especially in your first week. God, that is bad. That is bad, man. Oh, that is terrible. Anyway, we have to decide, are we going to ban or look at or make it harder for people to come here because of a religion? Now, I'm not this huge nationalist like a lot of people are. I'm not like America is number one and we should have dominancy over the world. We should have complete control over where our troops go and what resources we receive from our allies and where we drill, where we mine. I'm not somebody who thinks that America should come before the betterment of humanity. I think that humanity should come first. Call me crazy, but my loyalty is to God and humanity, which are kind of one, because I think that we have the same interests ultimately. But my idea of God is very complex. But my loyalty to humanity and God is first and foremost before my loyalty to any one country. You know, I live in Texas. I live in the United States, and I love this country. I really do. But what do I value more? Do I value humanity more, or do I value United States more? Well, I gotta say I value humanity far more, and it comes out way ahead of any one country, even my own. Now, when it comes to refugees, okay, many people argue there's a lot of Muslims nowadays that are terrorists, and there's a possibility that a Muslim terrorist might get in through the refugees. So we shouldn't help any of them at all. Or some people say we shouldn't help. We should only help a limited few and keep an eye on them. Monitor who they are, who they know, what their contacts are, and what they do while they're in the United States. This is a path of fear. So much fear in the guise of bravado, in the guise of masculinity. There's so much fear dressed up in this costume of nationalism and masculine strength. When really, you're afraid to let a refugee in because you're afraid he might somehow make a bomb and somehow hurt you. Somehow might hurt your family or somebody you know. But for somebody who believes that, let me ask you this. If you were born into another country and you wanted to get into the United States, and you were born into a country where your affiliated religion maybe was Islam, but I mean you weren't to the extreme side. You just wanted your family and yourself to get to a safer place so you could just live your life. How would you view somebody who stands in your way, somebody who says no, you shouldn't come in here because there are some of you, and by the way, the Muslim population in the world is billions, and less than 1% show extreme tendencies. So this idea that Islam by nature is evil and will always display these tendencies and is more so than any other religion, it's ridiculous. But how would you view that person who wants you to stay out because of what somebody else in your social class or your religious class or your nationality did? I mean, there'd be a combination of hatred and sadness. Now, you couldn't help but hate somebody that wanted to keep you out just because somebody that you're slightly affiliated with did something bad. But that shows you how much of an American I am. I'm drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon, the poor white man's beer. Call me blue collar. But anyway, there would be a certain amount of hatred. But how could you blame them? If somebody stood in your way like that, how could you blame them? Now, I don't think that this would drive the vast majority of refugees to attack any American or do something bad along those lines. Try to hell, even most of them wouldn't even try to protest. But I constantly put myself in the other person's shoes. How would I feel if I was that refugee? How would I feel if I was born into a country with a certain religion and I just happened to, say, okay, I'm part of this religion now, I'm part of this idea, and then I just wanted to leave just because I wanted my family to be safe? How would I feel if somebody was like, oh no, there's a tiny percent chance that he might display some extreme tendency based on where he's from and what he believes, what he's associated with anyway. And honestly, it would make me very sad if I was in that position, and this is just me, and it would make me not see the shining city on the hill as shiny. it wouldn't display the light that I thought it could. And I think we're letting down a lot of people in humanity. I think that so many people among human beings across the world view the United States as this wonderful place that was the beginning of the free world, and it spread its culture, it spread its democracy around the world, in the form of ideas, so that other people saw how true free market and true we're kind of a republic, but true representation in government and basically just helping each other out, being fellows in a society. And a lot of people around the world saw us that way just a couple decades ago. They saw us as this united community of people who accepted everyone. At least that was the idea. We didn't always accept everyone, but that was the idea. And now that idea is being destroyed. It's being pushed into the mud and beaten to death. Lady Liberty might as well be that homeless man in the gutter who almost drunk himself to death because of his despair. Because while these base instincts of survival, oh, there's a chance that that person might be dangerous, let's not let him come anywhere near me, even though I don't own this country and I just had the luck to be born here, let him not come anywhere near me just in case he might be dangerous. Even though that base survival tactic might be more likely to preserve your life and the life of your family, and just barely, because there's no guarantee that this would produce a desired result, because this might actually make more people dislike you. But even if it was more likely to preserve your life than the life of your family, your friends, whatever, it sure as hell wouldn't be a reliable tactic for preserving freedom. Preserving freedom has to do with being somebody who encourages it in others, not just around one's people or oneself or for oneself or for one's people, but encouraging it encouraging it by accepting other people into one's circle, into one's country, into one's way of life. And understanding that without those who other people around you might consider outcasts and the other, foreign, without those people that you're letting in, you are the source of the fear that will destroy you. Destruction doesn't come by physical means. It's always the groundwork of ideological fear, hatred, and ignorance that begins the destruction of a human being. And we lay the groundwork. We lay the possibility for our suffering, our pain, our death, and the death of the people that we love and know, and the death of the rest of humanity by falling to baser instincts instead of our higher ideals. And everybody has higher ideals that don't involve fear and hatred and ignorance. But what happens is a lot of people put away those ideals when there's a tiny bit of threat of danger, just a tiny bit. And once those ideals are put away, once they're ended for the moment, they're more likely to be ended for longer and longer periods of time. And it's more likely that we'll never return to the grandeur of ideology and virtue that we once held. Because we always say, oh, okay, it's just going to be this way for a little while. I just have to be afraid for this amount of time. I just have to be afraid until the people I'm afraid of are no longer a threat. But I got news for you. There's always going to be somebody who's a threat. And your freedom relies on you putting aside your hatred, fear, and ignorance. That's what it requires. Because freedom must come first and foremost. Otherwise, we're simply not Americans. And that's all I got to say. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. And if you share this on social media, I will love you. My name's Hunter Salazar. Look me on Facebook. Look me up on YouTube. Thank you.